Welcome in, belly up, have a seat and grab a drink as we talk. Whoa, we're going to talk some Wingman fantasy football. Welcome into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. This is episode 126, Week 12's 2-point conversation. And it is my great pleasure to welcome into the bar Mr. Bernie, a.k.a. Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
How are you doing today, Bernie?
Oh, man, I'm surviving like my last playoff hopes, man, on a wing and a prayer.
Yeah, it's not looking too good today. Well, this is a big crunch time these last 3 weeks as you're going to be trending towards in or suffocating your way out of playoff contention. All right, guys, we have a pretty full show for you guys today as we are going to start off with some player news. We're going to go through those studs and duds for Week 12. We're going to settle into a nice Week 12's 2-point conversation where we go through all of the NFL action up to this point, and we're going to introduce a new segment during that 2-point conversation. It's like Inception, a segment within a segment within a segment. Ooh. We're gonna unveil today the Wingman Fantasy Court. But first, let's make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingman Assemble! All right, now that everyone is here, let's get into some player news. All right, guys, starting off with Isaiah Pacheco was not activated before the weekend's game, so he missed this week, and I believe his 21-day practice window will expire by sometime during this upcoming week. So if he's not activated by then, which he will be, but if he's not, his season will be over. That's just the rules, people. Also, we had Brock Purdy was inactive dealing with a shoulder injury, putting managers on the back seat, on their back foot, trying to figure out how to get a last-minute replacement. Also, Zamir White and Alexander Madison, both Las Vegas running backs, in case you were not aware, were both inactive this week, meaning that there was a split backfield with Amir Abdullah and Sincere McCormick. That's his name, Sincere McCormick. No Dylan Lobe. And Devonta Smith for the Philadelphia Eagles was also inactive for the Sunday night game. All right, what do you have on these first group of four teams here? Isaiah Pacheco, not quite ready. Brock Purdy hurt some managers. The Las Vegas backfield was a shakeup, and Devonta Smith missed the Sunday night game.
Yeah, with Devonta Smith not playing, Dotson had to. Let me see. I've got Dotson over here. He had to step up a little bit. You know, he's got to fill that role. He was a first round pick a couple of years ago. They got him from Washington. So this means more points for Brown and Goddard. Honestly, that's really what that means. Do we really need to talk about Las Vegas? No.
The game was pretty good today. They were scrappy.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a division game, so anything could have happened because that's what happens in division games at the end of the season, I guess, because that's literally how it goes.
There were a lot of division games in the NFL, and we're going to get into that in our 2-point conversation. What do you think about the San Francisco, how they dealt with Brock Purdy putting in Brandon Allen, I believe, and they had a tough go against the Green Bay Packers today?
Yeah, that was a tough one. I heard somebody say that it was like Tony Stark. I think it was one of the morning shows, and it's like Tony Stark is Iron Man. Iron Man's got all the weapons, but Jarvis is the one calling the plays. Jarvis is the head coach, and anybody could be in the Iron Man suit as long as they're listening to Jarvis. It's not how it was. Brock Purdy is better than we all give him credit for. It takes a lot of talent to run that offense, and it shows because Mr. Allen could not run it.
So I saw a commercial today. It was all over the day-to-day with Brock Purdy on a Paw Patrol, probably a Paramount Plus commercial, where it was like a Paw Patrol app to help him get ready for a game day. He was in the locker room, and the Paw Patrol guys got him all pumped up. He ripped his long sleeves off. This guy's got guns. He's got that baby face, but he has big-time arms under there. I was very surprised by that.
Nice. Very nice. Very.
Okay.
It's always the hurt players that have the commercials running all the time. Baker had the commercials running all the time when he was hurt. Everybody's got commercials running when they're hurt.
It did feel a little off having him get ready for game day in a day that he was not getting ready for game day.
And as far as Pacheco goes, with them not starting him today, this tells me that the game plan going forward into the playoffs, into the end of the season here, is going to be a run-heavy game plan to help open up that passing game for Patrick Mahomes. They're going to start setting up that run game so they could set up the play action for playoffs.
Gotcha. All right, moving along here, we had a couple players get back on the field. Mike Evans made his return to the lineup for the Bucs on Sunday, but the running game did all the work in terms of the scoring as they were able to ease Evans in. And Adam Thielen returned to Carolina lineup after missing several weeks with a hamstring injury, and his greatest contribution in this game was drawing penalties in the end zone on 2 separate drives and a comeback mode here for the Panthers against the vaunted Kansas City Chiefs. Also, David Montgomery scored an early touchdown just like last week, but he left the game early with a shoulder injury. But according to reports, they said that he could have come back in. And I think the overall idea was to get his, what's the word I want here? Not rehab, but treatment started early as they play on Thursday. So they had this game in hand. Might as well get him start the rest early as they're going to play in just 3 more days. Austin Eckler, another elder player here, was not able to finish Week 12 against the Cowboys as he suffered a concussion late in the fourth quarter. We'll just stop there real quick. I got 2 guys after this. So we have Evans back, Thielen back. Montgomery left the game early, but seems to be okay for the long term. And Austin Eckler is now going to be in the concussion protocol.
Yeah, good to have those receivers back. They really didn't need Evans. He looked good, though. I don't think they wanted to overwork him since they didn't need him. Let's not re-aggravate anything on the first day back. Thielen looked good, though. Thielen looked like Thielen of old right before he was leaving Minnesota, and he kind of had some good routes, had some good catches. He really helps Bryce Young, though. So
yeah,
if he's in the game, they played a competitive game today, more competitive than it should have been. But good on him. Let Montgomery get the rest. That's a good thing. And who was the last guy? I'm sorry. Eckler. I saw the Eckler hit. He went full steam into the defender, into the DB, and then he just dropped to the ground.
Oh wow. So, I did not see it. I just saw the report.
Yeah, they were all out on the field. I think there was like 20 seconds left too in that half, or in that game. It was the half.
It was the fourth quarter, it said. So
it was like 20 seconds left in that game. Everybody was out there for a good minute, and then I think they took him away on the stretcher or something.
I don't know if it was the play that they called pass interference when Adam Thielen was in the end zone, but once again he went up for a catch, or maybe it was in the end zone. I'm not sure if it was that play or just a target. He went up to go for the ball, and he lands so hard all the time. He does the Puka Nacua, but he's not as young. He's just I think he's gonna break a back the way he falls on the ground.
Oh yeah. Puka plays pretty hard too, though. So, but Adam Thielen, he's a man. He's the man.
All right. We got a couple guys left here. We have Gardner Minshew suffered what looked like a gnarly collarbone injury as the journeyman quarterback is now expected to be out for the remainder of the season. We saw Desmond Ridder come in, and he looked like he was overwhelmed. Granted, he was thrusted in a late comeback drive, but he didn't do particularly well. And Brian Robinson Jr. left the game multiple times, also as the running back for the Commanders, left multiple times on Sunday, but ultimately was not able to finish the game with his ankle injury. All right, what do you think about Gardner Minshew probably being done and Desmond Ridder having to step up, and Brian Robinson Jr., that's 2 running backs now for the Commanders, are banged up, and I'm not sure if they're going to play next week.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of money Vegas has, but Daniel Jones is available because Desmond Ridder is definitely not the answer. I feel bad for Gardner. I actually like Minshew. I think he's got a lot of spunk. He's got a lot of drive to go out there and play his best. Obviously, he's QB2, QB3. But Brian Robinson, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Brian Robinson. Yeah. He's a tough guy, man. And Washington, they should have run away with this game. I really don't know what happened at the end of that game. We'll get into it in the 2-point conversation, but the end of that game was crazy, and I don't know how they managed it. And I think they kept putting them in because the game was not sealed.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it is now time to check in on our studs and duds. Wrong button, I think. Nope, that's the right button.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Wingman Fantasy Football, studs and duds.
All right, why don't you start us off with our studs list today, Mr. Bernie?
Ooh, a little wingman jam player at the top of this list with Mr. Patrick Mahomes coming in at a 28.76 points, 269 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and 60 rushing yards. That's a lot for Patty Mahomes there. Oh, here's on the other side of that video game. Tua, 28.68 points. Was it a wash? Oh my gosh. 317 passing yards and 4 passing touchdowns. Let's go Dolphins, baby. Caleb Williams. What? Look at this rookie. From the dud to a stud. 26.9 points, 340 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 33 rushing yards, and 1 2-point conversion. And the Detroit Lions, Super Bowl bound Detroit Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs, 23.4 points, 99 total yards, 3 receptions, and 2 touchdowns.
All right. We had DJ Moore, who had a kind of a slow game, but in that fourth quarter, he found a multiplier on the field and did that, getting 2.5 times his points late in the game with 23.4 points. He finished with 119 total yards, 7 receptions with a touchdown, and the game tying 2-point conversion in the fourth quarter there. Noah Gray, the wrong tight end. We said Carolina gives up the most points to tight end, and here you have it. Our highest scoring tight end of the week was Noah Gray at 20.6 points, and he did that by getting 66 receiving yards on only 4 catches, but 2 of them went for touchdowns. Aaron Jones has finally rebounded. He's been so good all year, but been kind of on a little bit of a slide the last 2 to 3 weeks, but he came back with 20.4 points with 129 total yards, 3 receptions, and 1 touchdown. And Tony Pollard for the Titans had the exact stat line that Aaron Jones had. This is fun. He had 20.4 points. He also had 129 total yards with 3 receptions and 1 touchdown.
Wow. That's all I got to say to that. Wow. All right. And Mr. Trey McBride of Frankenstein coming in with 19.3 points, 133 receiving yards. Oh, did I say that right? I did. 133 receiving yards and 12 receptions here. Mr. Jonnu Smith, another tight end, 19.2 points, 87 receiving yards, 9 receptions, and 1 touchdown. Mr. Not So Fat Keenan Allen, 19.1 points, 86 receiving yards, 9 receptions, and 1 touchdown. And another Dolphin, Devon Achane, 19.1, 56 total yards, 3 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. Go Dolphins.
So yeah, Trey McBride with a big game. And once again, he still can't get that receiving touchdown as Kyler Murray likes to just throw it right over his head when he's wide open over and over again. And Devon Achane had those 19 points pretty much in the first quarter, and they kind of stalled out as they were kind of playing a keep away from that point on. All right, moving along here, we have a defense, not only a defense, but a free agent defense, as everyone in the fantasy world has given up on this team. But the Dallas defense scored 19 points in the most bizarre fourth quarter you could think of. They had 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 touchdowns returned for 2 returns for touchdowns on the kicking game to get their 19 points. Terry McLaurin was sitting with a dud, looking like a game that was going to be a dud, but he had an 86-yard touchdown late in the game to try and tie this one up. So he had 18.7 points with 102 receiving yards on 5 catches as he scored that 1 long touchdown. Nick Chubb on Thursday night. Oh, Mr. B's kicking himself here as he had 18.5 points with 60 total yards, 1 reception, but he got in the end zone twice. And Nick Folk, the kicker for the Titans, I believe, had 18 points on 3 field goals that were all over 50 yards, and he also made 3 extra points.
And look who's back in the stud column, Mr. Nico Vodka Collins over here, 17.7 points, 92 receiving yards, 5 receptions, and 1 touchdown. And George Kittle, one of the only bright spots in San Francisco this week, 17.2 points, 82 receiving yards, 6 receptions, and 1 touchdown. David Moore, 17.1 points, 81 receiving yards, 6 receptions, and 1 touchdown. And Jacoby Myers. Is this your first time that we've had a receiver from Las Vegas on here?
I don't think so. I think Trey Turner made it once, and maybe Myers another time. But yeah, it's not a lot, not often.
Not often. 17.1 fantasy points with 121 receiving yards and 10 receptions.
We're going to finish out with some special teamers as the Houston defense had all the fun they could have against Will Levis, who just loves taking sacks because the coach told him to. They had 17 points as they had 8 sacks, 1 interception, 2 fumble recoveries, and that interception was returned for a touchdown. The Seattle defense was harassing Kyler Murray all day, and it hurt me personally, and it hurt Bernie in terms of starts of the week here, as Seattle's defense had 16 points with 5 sacks, 1 interception, and 1 touchdown. Let's see what else we have. Daniel Carlson, kicker for the Raiders, had 15 points on 4 field goals, 1 PAT, and one of those kicks was over 50 yards. Now for the duds, I want you to start us off here. Go ahead. You start us off with these duds here.
All right. With the duds here. Oh, at the top of the list. Oh, Mr. Tommy Cutlets. Tommy DeVito, 10.76 points. Jared Goff, MVP, still the dominator, though, 10.76 points. That's okay because the rest of the team did great. Brock Bowers, back down to earth, Brock, 5.8 points. And Alec Pierce, I saw him drop a couple of big, long passes, 4.4 points, just couldn't get that timing down today.
So I want to say something real quick. If we, because, we foolishly went with some of the Giants as some players we targeted here at starts of the week. But if I would have told you going into the week that Tommy DeVito was going to match the score of Jared Goff, who was the highest scoring quarterback last week other than Taysom Hill, you would take that any day. And he did just that. He matched the MVP, the Dominator, but they both were under 11 points. So that's just how it goes sometimes. All right, finishing off with more duds. Another receiver for the Colts, Josh Downs, only had 4.2 points. Jaden Reed is up and down all year long at 4.1 points. Cedric Tillman, I forgot to put it in the notes, left the game with a concussion on Thursday night as he could only get 3.8 points. And Justin Jefferson, Mr. Consistency, had a dud this week at 3.7 points.
Yeah, it was a tough going for Justin Jefferson. All right, Cade Otton, I guess with Mr. Evans back, Cade Otton's going to be on the dud list here. 3.5 points for Cade. Jonathan Taylor, sad day for Jonathan Taylor. 3.5 points on my team. Austin Eckler, get better soon, 3.4 points. David Njoku, 3.4 points. That's okay, though. You got the win. And next one's yours, sorry.
That's all right. Yep. Sam Laporta, another tight end here. Tight ends were boom or bust this week. I guess they usually are, but we had 4 or 5 tight ends on the top list, and we're already at our 5th tight end on the dud list. Sam Laporta at only 3.4 points, and Ramondre Stevenson at 3.3, and he got a 2-point conversion towards the end of the game, or he would have had less than 2 points this week. Tyler Lockett was in a starting lineup for one of our managers, and he only got 3 points. And Brian Robinson, who was in and out of the lineup due to injury, scored only 2.9 points.
Ooh, and this guy, Deebo Samuel, 2.6 points. Deebo, stop messing with the kicker and the long snapper on your team because they put some sort of bad curse on you, bud. And Javonte Williams, 1.6 points. Audric Estime, 1.5 points. And who's this? Oh, Juju Smith-Schuster, 1.1 points.
All right, with these guys here, Deebo Samuel, you think he got the not the Juju Smith-Schuster, but the Juju from Ayuk once he left, that all the bad vibes came over to him because he's been a dud ever since Ayuk has left the field.
No, he's been a dud ever since he started talking smack and put his hands on the long snapper, man. Messing with the kicker and the long snapper, you can't mess with those guys. That's can't do that. Just can't do that.
And both these guys were in a manager's starting lineup, not in the same manager, but Javonte Williams and Audric Estime both got under 2 points as they're just letting Bo Nix cook, and they're using the running backs just to keep the defense honest, but nothing more than that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, finishing up here with our duds, we have Jonathan Brooks. He only had a couple carries, but he did get on the field, but they did not split the carries as he only had 0.7 points, and it was Chuba Hubbard time, especially in that fourth quarter. And Christian Watson, after being one of the best streaming plays last week, only had 0.4 points, and this one's a bit of a surprise. Manager had to start Andy Dalton, and of course, he didn't get on the field, and he had 0 points. All right, guys. Now it is time to get into our Mecha Studs.
Mega Studs.
All right, starting off in one of the craziest games this year, especially this weekend, Jaden Daniels actually finished off with a monster game despite being pedestrian for most of it, finished with 34.4 points. He had 275 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 74 rushing yards with a rushing TD and a 2-point conversion. Josh Jacobs was the man today with 3 1-yard touchdown plunges. 28.6 points for Jacobs, who had 106 rushing yards with 3 touchdowns. Jordan Addison on one of our players' benches this week had 26.2 points. He got there with 162 receiving yards, 8 catches, and 1 score. Cortland Sutton, man, he is looking good now that Nix is cooking. Had a late touchdowns in this game, had 25.7 points at 97 receiving yards on 8 catches, and he scored 2 touchdowns. Jalen Waddle, what? Jalen Waddle had 24.4 points on 144 receiving yards, 8 catches, and 1 touchdown. This matches his last 4 weeks combined. And Bucky Irving, he really is just a stud. At 24.1 points, he totaled 151 yards, had 6 catches, and scored a rushing TD to start off the game. And Will Lutz, a free agent kicker, had 22 points. He scored 5 field goals, 2 extra points, and 2 of those field goals were over 50 yards in length. What do you have on some of these mecha studs here? As there's only 2 running backs with Josh Jacobs and Bucky Irving.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs was getting his today. Jaden Daniels, he just had to pull something out at the end of the game there. But Josh Jacobs looked good today. He was running hard. Jordan Addison had some really nice catches. Cortland Sutton, he's just doing Cortland Sutton things. I'm not surprised at that. It just took a while to get there. Bucky Irving, that's not a surprise. That was pretty much the game script. But Jalen Waddle, I apologize. I was wrong. Never drop Jalen Waddle. Hold on to him and keep him forever and ever. Draft him a 2nd round next year. I'm sorry.
All right, guys. It is now time to get into our 2-point conversation.
Is Jack Del Rio going to go for 2 here,
He's
Rick?
going for 2.
The Raiders will go for 2 and the probable victory with 47 seconds left.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win.
Wingman Fantasy Football's 2-point conversation.
And it's good! Oh, my goodness!
All right. Before you set the slate for the games we're going to go over, I just want to set like what was the kind of theme today. There were several great comebacks in today's game, a lot of times by the underdog, but in the end, these teams that came all the way back to tied up ended up losing on buzzer kicks or in overtime. So they almost took down some giant teams this week, but in the end, they the favorites won most of the games today. All right, especially in these close games. What game are you going to start us with, and what we got? What do we have going on?
Well, there was definitely a giant that went down at this first game, but it wasn't close. Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeated the New York Giants 30-7.
I noticed that all the touchdowns were rushing touchdowns. Even Baker Mayfield got one in. So there were 4 rushing touchdowns. All 3 running backs scored 1 in Bucky Irving, Rashad White, and Turner. Is that the other one?
Sean Tucker.
Tucker, sorry. Yeah, we haven't said his name in a while. Sean Tucker, thank you. And Baker Mayfield had a nice helicopter dive into the end zone for his one. So there's 4 rushing touchdowns. And I said Tommy DeVito was going to have 3/4 of garbage time, but he did not take advantage of it as they were just kind of slowly moving the ball. It finished with, like we said before, under 11 points. He didn't have a touchdown pass or scored today. So a touchdown would have helped, but they were just dominated today.
Yeah, for sure. And then on the other side here, Devin Singletary got the 1-yard touchdown run, and Mr. Tracy did not get it. They did not call Tyrone, and I believe they did not call him for that because he put the ball on the ground again this game.
Oh, he did?
He did. So it's one of those things where he, as good as he is, if he keeps putting that ball on the ground, they're not going to go to him. So Devin did get into that end zone today. Yeah, this was pretty much a blowout. There's really not much to say about this. Giants, New York, you fired the wrong head coach. That's all
Well,
I gotta say.
they did what they wanted to do at some point. Like, are they going to put the like Drew Lock in? I'm like, no, DeVito's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to lose this game.
They did put Drew Lock in for one series. Tommy got a big hit, and he went out, and Drew Lock came in, and I was like, oh, here it is. Here's the big switch. Come on, Drew, do your thing. And he didn't do anything.
All right, what's our next game on the docket here?
All right, the next game. Oh, a little bit more exciting. More exciting than it should have been. KC defeated the Carolina Panthers 30-27.
I was very impressed all day long, but especially in the fourth quarter in high leverage situations. Bryce Young looked awesome in that fourth quarter. Carolina scored 11 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to tie the game at 27 with 1 minute and 49 seconds to go. But that was just too much time for Patrick Mahomes, who drove down the field mostly by himself with a nice 30-plus yard run down the sideline, setting up the field goal to win at the buzzer and a surprisingly close win over the Panthers.
Yeah, it was a surprise, but the Chiefs have won. They just have been doing it with Butker this way for a few games now. So it's good to see that the new kicker can just go ahead and continue what the trend that was started with this team. So good on them for that. And I think notable here.
In terms of fantasy, this was Mahomes' highest scoring game of the season.
It is. And Kelsey's still without a touchdown in 9 out of 11 games this season. So if you're playing Kelsey, man, that's going to be a tough one to swallow there.
Yeah, Noah Gray got the big plays from the tight end spot this week.
For sure. All right. Anything else in this one? I don't think so.
No, Chuba Hubbard wasn't doing too much. They were stopping, but in that fourth quarter, he had some big runs and to get first downs, and then also he scored the touchdown at the end of the game that set up the tying. I don't know if they did an extra point or 2 point on that particular last one, because they were down by a little bit. It had to be a 2 point. They were down by 11, like I said. Yeah. So he scored the touchdown that ended up tying it up there with the 2 point. So he ended up having a nice day, but it was a little slow going for him. But that's to be expected with a great defense in Kansas City.
Yeah, for sure. And then for fantasy, Eddie Pinheiro, he did have 4 field goals on the day, 30, 32, 29, and 33. So that's a good workload for a kicker to get you some points there.
All right.
Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys defeated the Washington Commanders. Did I write that down correctly? 34-26. Oh, okay. What happened here, Mike?
Cooper Rush was pretty sharp all day long, but this one, all the game, this going into the fourth quarter, it was 10-9 as both teams weren't scoring. It was 1 touchdown scored going into the fourth quarter, and all field goals. No, actually, there were 2 touchdowns and a missed extra point, I think. Actually, you can double check me on that part of it. But either way, it was 10-9 heading in the fourth quarter. And then there were 41 points scored in the last 8 minutes of this game. We had a touchdown returned off a kickoff right after after Washington scored. Then Dallas ran back that kickoff. And then right after that, there was a bomb thrown with it was like 30 seconds left, 45 seconds left, something like that. It was very late. I'm like, oh my gosh, is he going to do this again? Jaden Daniels, as he threw it wasn't, I would say the ball probably went about 30 yards in the air. And then, McLaurin took off, ran through, zigzagged through 4 or 5 defenders. And I didn't think he was that fast. He's more of a possession type guy, but he ran away and through defenders to get a big touchdown that I think got him within 3. And then they went for the onside kick, and the front man just got the ball. He's like, I'm already behind your line, and just jogged in for the punctuation touchdown for the Dallas Cowboys. So both of their return kicks for touchdowns came in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was exciting. It was Terry McLaurin that was an 86-yard touchdown reception. And then it was, I don't know how to say his name, Juane Thomas. That was the 43-yard onside kick return for a touchdown.
And he was the guy in the middle. They tried, I guess how kickers try and like roll it in the middle. I don't know. It didn't roll it, but that's like what you usually do when you go straight, and trying to block off the guys and just let the kicker get it. And the guy's like, I'll just take this, and just ran through by the kicker and just went all the way.
Exactly. And then Kevon Turpin had the 99-yard kickoff return touchdown. So 2 return touchdowns. I mean, that's a lot of points there. Just in that, something that doesn't really happen a lot.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
When I saw the highlight of the return touchdown by Turpin, I didn't see from when he caught it. I just kind of saw I saw most of the sideline part of the run. Did you happen to see that or not? Because I have a follow-up question if you did.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Okay, so I saw one of these like YouTube breakdowns of like there was like how the Dallas Cowboys are breaking the return game, and they have this thing that I don't. And he might have did it here because I thought he kind of run straight up to the left, then up the sideline. If I'm not mistaken.
So he started in the middle.
Right.
He kind of broke through the middle, and then he did go to the left and then up the sideline. Yes.
Well, I don't know if they did it this time or not, but what they've been doing is instead of having like the one guy on the line, like how they still have like the guys across the line at whatever yard line that is, they'll put a guy just sitting back in one of the corners, and when the kick comes, he just runs across the backside of Turpin in this case to always bluff the reverse.
Gotcha.
And because the way they line up the other side, it just makes them pivot just a certain way because they have to respect that. And then they just jam up the block. Like they know they're going to react a certain way. So they know like I can block this direction instead of a blocking guy coming straight at you, they make the defense go this way and then they can turn and then they can go. They've had a lot of long kick returns and they're like, because they have this particular style that a lot of other teams aren't using. And it's been very effective just for long returns, not even touchdowns, but it happened once again for a touchdown this time.
Yeah, I did not notice that, but I will go back because I go back and watch some of these. I'll go back and take a look to see if I noticed that. Turpin is fast, though. He might be one of the fastest in the NFL. And right when he caught it, the defender was probably maybe 5 to 3 yards away from him. And he did a spin move before he needed to.
Oh, I did see that. I wasn't sure if he did that to like sneaky or if he got hit.
No, after the game they interviewed him and he's like, no, he practices that and it's to throw them off. It's like, why is he turning around when I'm not even that? Like, why is he doing that? And then
it's just a goof move to mess with the heads,
with that first guy coming up. And then as soon as because that first guy misses, and then he bolts. And he's fast, so it's good to see, man. It's good to see. It's like almost like a Devin Hester kind of like a nostalgia to see these guys do some good returns here.
Nice,
yeah. So what else we got in this one here? Any notable things? Cowboys snapped a 5-game losing streak, which is good. And then this was really a Commanders failed Hail Mary at the end of the game, failed to really hold down Cooper Rush. Commanders are better than this. Austin Eckler did get hurt. Hopefully he's going to be okay. But everything else was just, I would say, a complete meltdown of Washington. Even though they played good in that fourth quarter, it shouldn't have been this close.
All right. What else? Yeah. Actually, can I do a little news break here?
Yeah.
I hate to tell you this because you were holding on to your life. Saquon Barkley had his second 70-plus yard touchdown run tonight. He now has 45 fantasy points.
Well, if you're going to lose, you might as well lose to the big numbers.
Oh my gosh, 255 right? rushing yards with 47. Yeah. He has over 300 yards of offense by himself. Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. Wow.
Yeah, it's Saquon Barkley, man. I mean, it is what it is. Like
Sorry to break that to you. It was such a big number. I had to mention it.
I'd rather lose by the big blowouts. There's nothing I could have done to counteract that. You know, my best lineup couldn't have beat that, so it doesn't matter. So it makes me feel not so crappy.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to some, better, more happy topics.
Yes.
Miami Dolphins defeated the New England Patriots 34-15, and I believe that makes Tua 7-0 against the Patriots.
I think that I saw someone was I think it was I don't know if it was McDaniel. Someone was 6-0. I saw 6-0. I don't know if it was coach or a player.
It was Tua. He's 7-0 against the Patriots.
Nice. They dominated this one off the start. Drake May was out. I like their defense, man, and they're getting healthier. Mm-hmm. They still don't have Chubb back. I think he's going to be coming back in a little bit. And not Holland. Jalen Phillips is still not back yet either. But the young guys that are filling in, those guys are playing awesome. Chop Robinson's playing well. Calais Campbell's a stud on the line. And Ramsey, he's not a finesse cornerback, man. He's not as flashy as like a Palomalo, but I mean, he steps up, he blitzes a lot, he tackles guys, and he also defends on the pass. He's fun to watch. Their defense is fun, and especially when they have a team that can dominate like this physically, and they did just that. We had Achane scored 2 touchdowns, both receiving to help Tua's day. Early in the game, Jonnu Smith scored. I think it was the first touchdown of the game. It was either in between. There's 3 touchdowns. It was 2 by Achane and 1 by Jonnu Smith. I'm not sure the order. I think Jonnu was first. but I could be mistaken there. And then Waddle was just getting all the yards to eat up the middle of the field, and he topped off his day with a nice touchdown in the second half. I'm not sure if it was third or fourth quarter. Probably third, because with 10 minutes to go, they brought in Skylar Thompson to start running out the clock. And I said to him, there's always that question, like, you're always like, why are you leaving your starters in so long? They can get hurt. And I'm like, 10 minutes.
That's why.
I'm like, 10 minutes is a lot of time. We'll see how this goes. Very first snap, it was a fumble. I don't think it was a running back's fault. It looked like a bad handoff. Mm-hmm. But the exchange between him and Jalen Wright went right to the ground, and the defender just picked up the ball and jogged into the end zone. And after that, Tua's like, helmet back, and then he finished the whole game. Thompson did not come back in. And maybe, I'm not saying it would help their team, but they did awful when Tua was out earlier in the year. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying Daniel Jones. I'm just saying you have a guy with starters experience out there, and your backup has no starter experience or no quality starting experience. So and he wants to be on it. The report was Daniel Jones. He's going to be a backup anyway. He wants to be on a team that has a playoff aspiration. So at least he can feel that vibe, because he doesn't have that vibe with the Giants except for 1 year. So
exactly.
Look for it, Dolphins. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, if the price is right, there's no loss in that. So Dolphins built a 31-0 lead through 3 quarters. Unbelievable. This is the first time Dolphins swept the Patriots in consecutive seasons since the 99-2000 seasons. Yeah. A great game. It's a great game. And all I got to say is Jonnu Smith, yeah, whoever's got him on their team is winning. Oh, that's the guy with the other 4 tight ends on his team. Yeah. Never mind. Okay. Go Dolphins. Go Nick. You're my man, buddy. All right. Tennessee Titans defeated the Houston Texans 32-27.
Will Levis. Tony Pollard got all the work with Tajay Spears out. He was awesome today, but I don't know how many carries he ended up if you have it, but he just was on the field the entire time. I thought he was going to run out of gas, but he was good. I mean, he got a ton of work, but Zach Levis, again, he's good at following instructions. The coach says, take the sack, don't fumble it, and he took 8 sacks. And then there were 2 fumble recoveries by Houston. I don't know if one was from him, probably. So even he hit the gambit of all the things he could do as a mistake for a quarterback. Having 8 sacks, he threw a pick 6. He probably lost one of the fumbles, although I'm not positive on that. But then he'd back it up with a long bomb touchdown mixed in every 4th drive to keep him in the game. Now, they started out with the lead. Let's see what I have here. They started out with the lead. Then Houston slowly came back and then took the lead early in the 4th quarter. And then the very first play after Houston finally got the lead back, Chick Okonkwo caught a 70-yard touchdown where it really was just a wide receiver, like a middle screen where he went 8 yards, turned around. No one was around him. I've never seen a tight end run that. He ran. He wasn't behind anybody. He was in front of everybody and just straight lined it and did kind of, not as fast as Michael Vick, but people are trying to come from the sides, and he's like, I'm just going to get to that spot before you guys can close the door. And he ran all the way down the field. I was very impressed with his speed for such a big guy.
Yeah, Will Levis was 2 turnovers, 1 interception, 1 fumble. That was a 70-yard game-winning touchdown reception by Okonkwo. This was an interesting game, to say the least. Will did definitely kind of mess up enough to where you were worried about it. So it's surprising that this is the score at the end of the game. Tony Pollard did have 24 carries for 119 yards. So that's a lot of carries right there for that.
The thing that helped out Tennessee is Stroud made almost not as many, but almost as many mistakes. He had 2 awful interceptions as they were moving down the field. And when they finally took that lead off that big long touchdown, then Houston went right down the field, and our friend Kymir Fairbairn could not stare as he missed the kick that would have tied the game at 3:29 left in the 4th quarter. And then a drive or 2 later, they ended up getting I don't know if it was a sack or the ball got kicked out of the back of the end zone, but a safety sealed the deal as it made it a 5-point game with less than a minute to go, and Tennessee got the ball after that. So that's what did it there. That safety is what ended the game. But it was actually a close back and forth game, even though it was a little ugly with big plays mixed in with bad plays to kind of go back and forth.
Yeah, and this is the third loss in 4 weeks for the Texans, which is not good. But Joe Mixon, he was held to 22 yards on 14 carries. So Tennessee defense did something right. They were looking at film and they said, shut this guy down and we have a shot at winning. So
yeah, for sure.
For sure. Okay. Moving on, we got the Detroit Lions defeated the Indianapolis Colts 24-6, and it wasn't even that close, honestly.
Yeah, they scored all rushing touchdowns to start with. Jameer Gibbs had, I think, the first one. Then David Montgomery had an awesome one where it looked like it was going to be stopped and just kind of power spun. I don't know how to say it. Like, instead of hitting the ground, he kind of got to his backside so he could keep his butt up off the ground and kind of push with his legs there and did it through people. It was pretty impressive. And then once again, Jameer Gibbs scored a third touchdown. And they just they didn't score they scored fast, but not as fast as they did against Jacksonville, where they had the time to just play. It took them at least 1 3/4, almost a whole half to get their 3 touchdowns, when last time they scored 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. And at that point, I guess they just kind of, let them rest. And also, was that the Colts game?
Yes.
Right. And Anthony Richardson was just not completing passes, so there was no threat in there. They just kept getting the ball back on quick drives, and they were just able to coast on this one.
Yeah. So let's just for the rest of this here, let's just call out the notables for the Lions, because they're on some sort of record year.
Okay.
They extended their win streak to 9 games, best 11 game record since the franchise since the 1934 inaugural season. Lions improved to 6-0 on the road. Gibbs extended the Lions record to 25 straight games with a rushing touchdown. Gibbs joins Barry Sanders and Billy Sims as only Lions with 1,000 scrimmage yards and 10 touchdowns in first 2 seasons.
Whew.
And Gibbs and Montgomery scored in the same game for the 9th time.
Yeah,
wow.
They just take turns. They're so good. And Montgomery didn't get a lot of work today. Like I said, he got banged up. I didn't see when it happened compared to the drives, but or how early it was. He obviously scored early, Montgomery, but Jameer Gibbs got way more of the work in terms of carries today. I don't know about playing time, but touching the ball.
So yeah, good game.
All right.
Excellent.
What other games we have here?
All right. Minnesota Vikings defeated the Chicago Bears 30-27.
The Bears they were down early, and then they had these underdogs against these big teams. So we had Carolina did this, and another team I mentioned earlier. I'm not going to say it right now, but and then this game here, Chicago had a rush of touchdowns at the end of the game. Let's see what I have here. Chicago was down by 14 points with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Then they scored a touchdown to be down to 14 points. They scored a touchdown, missed the 2-point conversion, so they were down by 8 points. The other team then scored a field goal to get it to 11, and then with 29 seconds left, the Bears scored again. This time they got the 2-point conversion, so they're down by 3 points with 29 seconds to go. They recovered the onside kick. It was awesome. It was a great kick, and the guys were right. Actually, it hit off one of the guys' feet who were blocking. Those front guys kind of block and let the second layer do the fielding. It kicked off the ankle of the front blocker, and the Bears were right there, jumped on top of it, and were able to get a little bit closer and kicked a buzzer-tying field goal, an amazing comeback. And then in overtime, both teams didn't do anything. It went almost the entire overtime, and then at the end, Minnesota, I believe they won with a field goal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, they sure did. Santos hit the 48-yard field goal to force the overtime. And then they, like you said, they both kind of stalled. And then Darnold had a 29-yard pass to Hawkinson to set up the game-winning field goal. Yeah, so it was a good game. It was an exciting game. Again, not no Justin Jefferson in this game, so that's probably why this score was as close as it was.
He wasn't hurt, was he? He just wasn't effective today.
They just weren't getting him the ball like he could. Get some good coverages, honestly. And then I think he had a couple drops, but they weren't really his fault. It was just good defense.
So transparency here. I have Hawkinson on my team. He's kind of like a random player I picked up. I kind of wanted to start him because with the same way when we had Mark Andrews and Likely was out that 1 week. Their tight end who's been playing more than Hawkinson, one because Hawkinson is coming back from injury, obviously, but he was out today, and I was like, should I put him in? But I don't know who to put him in for. And then he wasn't doing anything, and I was getting ready to drop him, and I changed my mind, like, let's wait till the game's over. In that fourth quarter is when he finished with like 9 catches and 115 yards or something like that. He had a great day by the end of it.
Yeah, Hawkinson and Addison were targeted the highest at 9 targets each.
Okay, yeah.
Hawkinson was 7 for 114.
Okay,
and Jefferson only had 5 targets. So
So I was getting ready to drop Hawkinson, and at the end I ended up dropping Mostert. I'm glad I held on for now.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay. All right, moving on. We have the Denver Broncos defeated the Las Vegas Raiders 29-19.
So this one, I was curious. We all were curious because Estime 2 weeks ago got the work, and Williams did not. And I've always said to you guys over and over again that despite the stats, Williams is on the field a lot more. He is there. He's on there to block. He just blocks for Knicks. But the beginning of the game, it was all Williams. The only thing was he was getting negative yards he got like a 7-yard run, and then he had like 3 or 4 consecutive 2-yard losses. Every time I looked up, it's like 5 carries, 1 yard, 7 carries, 1 yard, 1 catch for 1 yard. I think he had like 8 carries and 3 catches for a total of like 3 yards. It was pretty disgusting today. But McLaughlin was the one who was getting the chunk plays when they were taking turns, and Estime did the same thing that Williams was doing in terms of effectiveness. But and that line is pretty good. Crosby was causing havoc today. He was playing awesome, chasing around anyone who had the ball in that box. But they're letting Bo Nix go, man. He's having a good time, and they were kind of going to rest, eat the clock, but then the Raiders got a little feisty in that second half, made it just close enough where they had to keep getting that. They kept getting it down to a 1-score game, so they had to keep trying to push it. They almost messed up going for I think they should have. It was like 3.5 minutes left. They were up by a score, Denver that is, and they instead of running the ball all 3 times to at least get rid of the timeouts because Las Vegas had 3 timeouts. They went 3 incomplete passes. Their drive went out in 15 seconds, giving the ball back to Las Vegas when they were down the score. And I think that might be the drive that Minshew got hurt on, and that's where it kind of sputtered out. But these coaches playing around, man, get rid of their timeouts first and then play from there. Because it's nice when you get that nice 15-yard pass for a first down. You're like, yeah, we stuck it to them. If you don't, though, you look really bad not wasting those 3 minutes you could have wasted, or at least their timeouts, one or the other. They didn't do either.
Yeah, that was tough. It was actually, I didn't realize this. The Broncos' first win at Allegiant Stadium.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't. They're previously 0-4 there. I didn't realize the Raiders were playing them that close at home there. So good on them. Max Crosby did tear it up. He recorded his 100th career tackle for loss. So he joins J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, DeMarcus Ware as the only players with 100 tackles for loss in the first 6 seasons. That's pretty good company right there.
3 of those at least were against Javonte Williams as he just kept getting negative yards.
So good on that. Hopefully Gardner will get better and be on a better team next year as a backup. Maybe the Dolphins. I don't know. I like Gardner.
And Will Lutz was the highest scoring, I think, fantasy player in this. Maybe not as good as Cortland Sutton, but he had 22 points as the kicker for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah. Good stuff, Mr. Lutz. Just a fun fact, since you got Javonte Williams on your team, he did have 8 carries for -2 yards. And he did have 2 receptions for 6 yards, targeted 4 times.
Okay, yeah, it was. Yeah.
So we definitely knew why he was in there. He was into the block.
Yeah, he's good at it though. He's really good at it,
and that's why he's in there. Yeah. All right. Moving along here, we've got Green Bay Packers defeated the San Francisco 49ers 38-10.
These games for the Packers always start off with Josh Jacobs getting 30 yards on that first drive. Somehow he just sets the tone. And I was box score watching this one, and obviously San Francisco could not put up a fight. There were 3 different times that the ball was down to the 1-yard line, and Josh Jacobs got all 3 touchdowns. That was nice instead of a Jordan Love one. Just, I don't like when. I mean, it depends on who you have. I'm biased here as a Jacobs manager, but I think the running backs deserve these more than the quarterbacks. The quarterback should do it as a desperate play, not as the first go. So, and it's also nice when the running back gets it, because when they get it more. So it's good for everybody, for the offense. When you can, it's like putting your closer in a good baseball team. Like, we got this save, we got this.
Yeah.
So they just dominated. San Francisco never got going. Kittle scored a touchdown, had decent yards. McCaffrey's stat line was not good. I don't know how he looked. Jordan Mason got mop-up duty at the end of this game, and he didn't do anything either. So did you watch a lot of this game? Did you see what McCaffrey, how he looked or how he played?
I did not watch a lot of this game. I think it all came down to the Raiders defense going up against this rookie quarterback and stacking the box and just bringing it.
Yeah, the Packers defense is definitely they're sneaky good.
I'm sorry, the Packers defense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's why I kind of led that. But I guess when you put a backup quarterback in, these are sink or swim, and You
Mhm.
find out right away, and he couldn't do it today.
Yeah. So really nothing exciting going on in this except for Josh Jacobs looks like he's the best player on the field. Yeah, 49ers got to get Purdy back in there. Or, there is a guy available that can run an offense. He's good. So Daniel Jones, I'm going to keep saying his name until somebody picks him up this season. And the San Francisco 49ers are a playoff team.
I don't know, man. I don't know. They might not be. They're not looking so good.
I'm sorry, I should say this. They're a
playoff caliber
team.
Yeah,
Yes,
I got you.
And that division, they're all very close. They're sitting bottom in that division right now with the win in Seattle. But they're all really tight and close in that division. So
I can't help myself. I want to bring something up here from one of our preseason episodes right before the draft where we had our risers and fallers, and we had Jacobs jump up because of the injuries to the backups of Marshawn Lloyd, for example, and one of the other young guys was banged up. I think Emmanuel Wilson at the time. It was a short-term play. We're like, he's going to get all the work in those first 3 carries. It's going to be a nice start. We moved Kyron Williams down because we thought he was a punt returner. That was a mistake. But nonetheless, Kyron Williams started off hotter than Jacobs. But the thing with Jacobson, his backups have been getting hurt perpetually all year long. He's been we thought he was going to get the workload to start the season, and it's just holding true. It's just, one, because he's effective, and 2, his guys just can't get healthy behind him, the young guys.
Yeah, this is true. Okay, last game that we got going on here is the Seattle Seahawks defeating the Arizona Cardinals 16-6.
So going into this, there was the fear that it was going to be raining. I thought it wasn't, and then on a couple camera angles, I could see it. I don't know if it was raining all day or if I just noticed it later in the game. I noticed it later, so I don't know if it was raining all day, and that's what I was a little nervous about with Kyler Murray, although I still went with it because he's been so hot lately. A road game, and not to make fun, I mean, he's a short guy, probably smaller hands, if you will, and that wet ball, he was having a hard time directing it, and he didn't get that zip he was been getting the last few weeks.
Yeah, and I was the exact same way with Geno Smith on the other side. I saw the possible rain, and I was like, you know what? Let me just sit him down. Arizona's defense is pretty good. They're getting better. So I was like, let me just not mess with this. And then I was watching the game, and I was like, it doesn't really look that bad of weather there. So that kind of threw me off here. The Seahawks led 7-3 at half with the Smith and Jigba touchdown. Smith and Jigba looks good there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then Kobe Bryant's pick 6 made it 13-3 in the third quarter there. And then the Cardinals settled for a field goal after reaching the Seattle 4-yard line, and then a missed late field goal ended the Cardinals' comeback hopes. So, it's one of those things.
I was going to say, there was so the Cardinals weren't playing well, but they scored a field goal to get it within 7 points. I believe it was within a score before Seattle scored a field goal to get it back to 10 or 11, either 8 or 11 or 7 or 10, whatever, 1 to 2 scores.
Yeah.
And Seattle, I don't know exactly when they got the ball back, about 6.5 minutes, and it looked like multiple times that Arizona was going to stop them on third down and get the ball back with like 4 minutes, 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left, and Seattle just kept getting first downs on the third down, and that drive was like a nice 3.5 to 4.5 minute drive that culminated in the field goal that made it a 2-score game. They did awesome converting on third downs, and on a big drive. Those drives with 6 minutes to go are the biggest drives because you can either extend your lead or how the Broncos went 3 and out in a shorter time. You give the other team life, but they took up the time and they scored to make it desperation mode for the Cardinals, who did move the ball down the field, but they literally scored that. They went for that field goal to get it within 7 with like 10 seconds left. They would have had to be more miraculous than Chicago to get that onside kick and still score a touchdown. So that drive was a great drive. Because other than that, both teams weren't doing too much on offense, just enough to kind of keep the other team at bay. But that drive, I think, was the biggest drive of the game.
Yeah, for sure. And shutting James Conner down, limiting him to 8 yards on 7 carries, that was definitely a big thing. He's like Mixon on Houston. It's like once you stop them, and once you stop Conner, there's definitely a chance to really put some heat on this offense from the defensive standpoint.
I didn't watch that game in the first half. In the second half, I did. I didn't see Marvin Harrison I didn't see him on the field. Whether he was on the field, the camera never found Marvin Harrison that whole second half.
Yeah, he probably because they couldn't get the ball to him. I did see him get a couple of big hits And he did make some good catches, but nothing to write home about.
Right.
Let me check here real fast. Harrison,
He had like three catches for like 25 yards or something.
Yeah, 3 for 47, but he was targeted 6 times. But he was the second most targeted player at 6 targets. Everything was to McBride. So maybe McBride was targeted 15 times. The Seattle defense was rushing, putting pressure on the quarterback, hurry up on the quarterback for the entire game. And Leonard Williams leading that Seattle attack on defense. I'm sorry.
All right. I was going to do a segment here, but let's just get rid of these early waiver wire thoughts as they're going to be quick. There's not too many. Let's just do this, and then we'll get into our Wingman Fantasy Court. Okay. What do you have for some early waiver wire thoughts, if that's okay to pivot there?
Yeah. Let's see what we got. Actually, you go first. Let me pull it up. I didn't have it pulled up here.
There's not a lot out there, guys. This is good news that these, I don't know how to say this without, jinxing or doing anything. There's not a lot of running backs on the waiver wire that can help your team right now. So that's great news. It seems weird because we're not used to it, but really it's good news. So all I have here are quarterbacks, and there are tons as of next week. Next week there are no teams on bye. So we have like 7 or 8 quarterbacks that are starting on the field. Cooper Rush against Giants. That's a Thursday game, though. So some of these guys, if you want to pick them up, we'll talk more about it on Wednesday morning. But if you want to pick these guys up, just know they play early. There's a lot of games in the middle of the week this week. Cooper Rush against the Giants. Caleb Williams against Detroit. Both those are Thursday game. Aaron Rodgers against Seattle. And Bryce Young. I don't know if he can do it, but they're playing Tampa Bay. So, that's a team that we'll just let it go as it is right there. So I have is quarterbacks. I looked up running backs, couldn't find anybody that caught my attention. Looked up receivers. There's some third tier wide receivers now as they're all being hoarded on Waddle away. There's not even that first. You can't get Njoku or Jonnu Smith anymore. They're gone.
Wait. Wide receivers being hoarded?
No. Tight ends.
Tight ends being hoarded. Okay.
I'm saying usually even when there's not good receivers, there's like, well, you can get, Njoku, Hawkinson, Jonnu Smith. All those guys are gone because one manager doesn't like to follow the rules. I'm kidding. And likes to hoard all the tight ends.
Well, more power to them. Go ahead. Take them all. Take them all, please. So,
do you have any running backs or receivers that catch your attention?
Well, running backs, no. There's no running backs available. Oh, there's no running backs worth going for unless you need a handcuff or something like that. Somebody like Sean Tucker or something like that. There really isn't anything to spend money on, I should say. Nobody's making some bids there. But what do you think about Noah Gray here? I mean, if Noah Gray is having a breakout game here, he was always touted as being the next guy up once Kelsey starts his his decline, not necessarily his decline, but his step back. His key role. Is Noah Gray an option in this offense that might be coming alive towards the end of the season? Short answer is no.
You can't count on. He doesn't get enough targets. Even his 2 touchdowns came on like 2 catches to start with before he caught a couple short passes later. So he's not. I mean, he's the leak out valve, but he's not really part of the game plan kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I would say no. I mean, but anybody can be anything. But with Kelsey there and Hopkins, who are possession guys, you don't need that secondary tight end to be I agree. Your safety valve. Yeah.
Just wanted to see what your thoughts were.
Yep. Fair enough.
Okay. All right, buddy.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, guys. Here we go. We got a new segment. I'm going to apologize up front. Sometimes I have a tone problem. I'm going to do the best I can to reel that in, and it's not how I feel or what I mean. It's just sometimes I get worked up in my chest. So either way, we're going to go with this. Here we go.
Wingman Fantasy Football. Fantasy Court.
All rise. All right. I don't even know how to describe this. I'm going to let you be the person presenting what the arguments are. Oh, wrong button. I don't know if that does anything.
Sometimes.
All right. Wrong button there. But why don't you present potential arguments in this plaintiff's in the Wingman Fantasy Court?
All right. So coming into this session here, we have a complaint about 2 things. One is the ad drop of players to try to block other players from getting a certain position group into their lineup. This is the complaint. It is not breaking any rules that are currently set within our league. It's just something that other players find to be a dirty play. It's almost like when a lineman in a scrum kind of, goes for a little low blow. It's nothing in the rules saying that you can't just, push somebody a little hard in that sweet spot, but, we don't really like to see that sometimes. And then the second complaint would be the use of our IR spot. So we currently have roster restrictions. We currently have an IR spot. And if you manipulate the position that's in the IR spot, kicker, then you can eliminate the need to have the recommended or the mandatory active kicker defenses. And you basically have a free spot to kind of pick up anybody you want in that spot. So these are the complaints. There aren't any rules that are actually being broken. They are just guidelines within this particular league that some of the players aren't utilizing, don't really know about, don't quite understand, and just don't like, period. There's not really a genuine, like, this is wrong because of this. It's just, this is wrong because we don't like it kind of deal. I would assume that it's not something that is done in other leagues. I don't play in 10 other leagues because I just don't have that sort of time. I play in one league and I play in the Wingman Fantasy Football League. So I don't really know how other leagues set their things up for the past few years. I've only played in one. So I don't know what I can say is a better option because I just don't play in it. So those are the complaints. What do you think you have to say to that?
Well, I would say this to start off with is that all these things are written in that the rules that are in the preseason. They say if you have, so the way we do it, that you have to have a minimum number at like the quarterback position, running back position, wide receiver position, kicker, and defense. Once you meet those minimums, then you can use the remainder. So you have like, I don't know the exact numbers. You have 15 spots and 9 of them are required positions. Like I said, the 2 quarterbacks, 3, 4 running backs, receivers. Once you fill those up, you can use your bench spots for pretty much anything. There's a fine restriction a little bit depending on what you use there. And then in the rules, it says there in the beginning, if you use the IR spot, because it doesn't say they have to be active. It just says on your roster. You have to have that minimum number of positional players on your roster. If you put someone in your IR spot and you've met those minimums, you now have another bench spot that you can use for any position. The first year we added IRs during the COVID year. That's the first time we ever added IRs. And it was a little tricky because I was like, you can't pick up that guy because you can't drop that guy first because he's that position. You have to drop the quarterback before you pick up the quarterback, before you put the quarterback in there. And then it was just like, you know what, you have them on your team. All it really says is you have to have minimum positions. And if you get that, I don't care if they're in your starter, your bench, or your IR. They're all on your team. So use your IR. And we've done them tips and tricks for the last at least 2 years, saying if you want to get the most out of that, to put a kicker in your IR spot. So because you do have to have at least a combination of 3 kickers and defenses. So you have to have 1 kicker, 1 defense, and then you can have either a second kicker or a second defense. But if you can't put a defense on the IR, obviously. You can put a kicker in the IR, and now you can use that open spot now for any position. It's been stated like that. Now, if I haven't communicated to people, that's on me. That's fair, but it is in the rules. It's been there. I email out to you guys. I give you links to them in the things. And I also, I mentioned on tips and tricks, we've had many managers put kickers in their IR all year. Bernie, do you have a kicker on your IR right now?
I sure do.
We have, I don't know, throughout the year, they don't keep them all year long. I've been a little more steadfast in using that thing because I've had a Brandon Aubrey as my kicker. Once I got through his bye week, I'm just going to keep playing him. So it's like, if you're not streaming kickers and you're going to use one, take advantage of it. It's there for everyone to take advantage of. We're all adults managing our own team. So that's the rules anyway. If we want to think about changing the rules, we can have no restrictions at all on rosters. And then you can have some managers pick up. They're inevitably, no matter what, let's put it this way, no matter what rule you set.
Wait.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Finish that thought.
What was where did I leave off?
If we don't have restrictions on how many of each positions we need to have on the team.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Then someone's going to pick up 7 or 9 running backs, for example. Okay. My point is, no matter what the rule is, someone is going to use it how they see fit to best help their team, how they want to manage their team in that thing. And then what's going to happen, potentially, what might happen is if all those backup running backs are taken on someone's team because they can hold 8, 9 running backs, you're going to be like, that's not fair. There's no running backs out there. Mm-hmm. I mean, no matter which way you go, whenever a situation arises, if you're not ahead of it, you're not going to like it. So the thing is, either get ahead of it or realize that someone else is. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. But my point is, no matter what the rules are, people are going to play within those rules. Now, if you want to change the rules, give me some constructive, non-emotional ideas here. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is maybe changing the waiver waiting period. It's set at 1 day right now.
Okay,
which
wait.
Real life ends up. Go ahead.
Yeah, hold on a second. Okay, so as far as the IR spot goes, because that's what you started with here.
Sure.
I didn't realize this because the comments made by the plaintiffs were that you need to have 2 active.
It never says active anywhere.
Right. So it doesn't say active. It just says minimum. So you just have to have a minimum on your roster, and the IR is on your roster.
Correct.
So it doesn't necessarily need to be active. So
Correct.
let's just clear that up, because I think that might be a misunderstanding on the plaintiff side. Okay. And then as far as the roster spots, the other option outside of having a set number of each position on your roster is having no set number, which opens up the capability of any manager hoarding a certain position group onto their roster, and there's really nothing anyone can do about it because there are no limitations.
Well, that's the reason for the required minimums is to minimize or prevent hoarding. Because if you had like Mahomes, you're like, I'm gonna have most leagues don't have that restriction. The idea is because to have a diverse waiver pool, free agent pool out there. Because if you had Mahomes in years past, I got him. You don't need another quarterback, and you just load up with 5 running backs instead of having. It's to purposely keep a more diverse waiver free agent pool by having some minimums on your roster.
Yeah, totally understand that. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, no, it's fine.
We're all clear in what we hear and what it's being said here. Okay, so moving on to the waiver now. Go ahead.
So at the moment, it's set at 1 day, which is the shortest setting minus 0, I guess. Mm-hmm. And in real life, the 1 day is actually 1+. They don't count the day you drop somebody or put a waiver claim in as 1 day. It's the next day is the 1 day. So it's depending on when you drop them. If you drop them at midnight, you're waiting 25 hours. If you drop them at 10 in the morning, you're waiting 40 hours. You know what I mean? So it's a day plus the day you drop them. I don't know what happens when we do 0. I've never done it. Before we had just free agents. Everyone could pick up anybody at any time. And I'm just saying in the past, we did have some complaints about that. So we made it waivers to give some time so people who weren't, you could have time to look at it and see who's out there and make up your mind over, that 20, 25 to 40 hours. Otherwise, if you're on the computer and something happens, you can't pick if you drop somebody and I happen to be on the computer when you do it, I can get them because I'm on the computer. This allowed people that, like I said, 18 to 40 hours to say, oh, he dropped him. I'm going to go pick him up when he's available.
Gotcha.
So that was a remedy to another issue being raised several years back.
Okay, so let me see if I understand this. So currently, we pick up players. If we hold them for a day and we drop them, or if we hold them until the cutoff time, which is 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, it varies because it's how their servers run it, but it's essentially midnight Pacific time. So anytime after 3 a.m. Sometimes it goes at 4:30 a.m., but it's 3 a.m. to 4:30 in that range.
So if I pick up somebody before 12 a.m. Pacific time, I have to hold them until after 12 a.m. Pacific time for them to be on waivers if I drop them.
Correct.
If I drop them before that 12 a.m. Pacific time, they are not on waivers and anyone can go get them.
Correct. So you can't. That's to help prevent you from doing that. Like pick up quarterback, drop quarterback, pick up quarterback, drop quarterback, pick up quarterback, drop quarterback, and just in 5 minutes block 10 guys.
Right.
If you're gonna do it, it's not easy. It's slow. It's methodical. Everyone can see the moves. For example, I'm just saying
But what I'm saying is, so that's currently how the system is right now for our league.
Yes, if you picked up somebody and dropped them in the same calendar day, now again, their clock is set on Pacific time.
Yeah.
But if you drop them the same day, they do not go into waivers. They are free agents.
Right.
And can be picked up that same day.
And so the other alternative, the other way to do this is to not have that waiver claim period, where if you pick somebody up and you drop somebody, no matter how long you're holding them, you can hold them for a week, you can hold them for 2 days, you can hold them for an hour. They're available as soon as you drop them for somebody else to pick up. And we have had this before in this league.
Correct.
And there were complaints because people that were watching the games and saw people get hurt or saw people, they could go in and pick up people right away, or they could all be listening to the news and they could just add and drop people while other people were at work, not on their computer, not on their phone. And so that became an issue because some people, our workout times are different, obviously.
Right.
Our attention span, our time allotted to fantasy football is different for everybody. Having the waiver wire kind of makes it an even playing field for everybody to say, this is the time. Everybody sees the time. You put your waiver claim in, and then when that hits, we'll see if you get it or not. This is how the system's set up now, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Because and just as an example, in years past, I usually get the Sunday ticket, and I don't watch as much now because I'm more what's the word I want? Superstitious. Right. But I used to sit with all the games on, and whenever I saw a running back come off with a limp before the news even came out that they were questionable, because I saw them, like, that looked like that's going to hurt.
Right.
I would pick up the backup while I'm watching the game, during the game. And people are like, I'm not watching my tone might get a little ahead of me, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not watching the game. I didn't see him tweak his angle. I'm waiting for the alert on my phone.
Right.
So in that case, person watching had an advantage.
Person watching. Right.
So it gave you, like, well, even if I saw it, I can't pick that guy up for a day and a half. And by that time, all that news comes through. But it's up to you to have your alert set. It's up to you to find the news or act on the news. You know, but it gave you that little bit of a buffer to catch up.
So having the waiver wire helps make it a clear even playing field for everybody. People that have the time to pay attention and people that don't have the time to pay attention. People that just don't have access. Having the waiver the way it is now is that.
I mean, it doesn't give you unlimited time, but it gives you a window of time. You know, it's obviously up to you how you want to manage your team or how much attention you want to put.
Right.
To
it gives you more time than instantaneous. So there isn't any rule change or rule fix to prevent what happened today or what happened in the past 3 days. There isn't a rule to stop that from happening, because if we take the waivers off, then you're hoarding all the players anyway. If you keep the waivers on, somebody's going to take advantage of I'm going to pick them up at 11:59 and then I'm going to drop them at 12:01 Pacific time. There isn't a rule to combat that.
Keep in mind, just with that example, by picking someone at 11:59, they were available all the way up until that point.
No. I know. We're not getting into the semantics of what.
So I'm just saying, like, that's just the most efficient amount of time they're on your roster to count for a day. Yeah, but they're still out there for the same amount of time.
I'm trying to minimize it. I'm trying to minimize it to an ad drop scenario.
Correct.
That's the only time frame that you can do a quick ad drop, is to do it at that break time. And then there's not a rule or a setting to prevent that from happening.
Right. And even then, Yahoo, that time is not static. It's in a range, like I said, 3 to 4:30, because their servers are calculating all the stuff, and there's sometimes those things go through at, you know what I mean? So it is a little bit of a window there. Because honestly, just to further this example, the manager who was trying to block their opponent's opportunity to pick up a backup quarterback dropped the person at like approximately 1:30 in the morning, thinking that it was after midnight and the day had already set for the next waiver, but it didn't. That person he dropped was a free agent. He actually re-picked him up, dropped the person that he picked up. So that guy was also still a free agent for the following day. Like he got ahead of himself for 20 minutes, but everything was still the same way he wanted to do it. So there is a time where it changes from day to day, but it's approximately 3 to 4:30 in the morning is the click over.
But for the people that are saying, or that are not liking the situation, just to give them, to present to them on this platform here what the options are. The option is to keep it the way it is, and that's just what happens, and that's what certain players are going to do if they need to do it, if they want to do it. There's nothing to stop them from doing it rule wise or setting wise. But the other option is everybody's available as an ad drop.
The only thing I can think of,
everybody's available as a drop.
The only thing I can think of, and we've never done it, so I don't know how it would play. I'm assuming, like I said, we set the setting for 1 day waiting period.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming there's a 0 day waiting period, which I would assume, but we've never done it. Would be like that half a day is what you're waiting on, and then the first 4 a.m, they'd be available. So you could still block for 1 day, just not, or for a half a day, but not a day and a half.
Right.
But we haven't done it. I don't know if 0 is just like is the same thing as free agents for everybody or not. But that's the only thing I can think of is to shorten it. So if you did pick up somebody and drop them, you couldn't start on Friday and kind of leave them out there to block Sunday. You'd have to block Sunday players by picking up on Saturday.
Right. And in this situation,
or dropping them on Saturday.
In this situation, the news for this quarterback that went out was fairly quick because it was freaking San Francisco, and they don't like to tell anybody what the heck's going on. So it's not like
well, he was. To be fair, in this instance, he was he was limited in practice all week. We said in our news stating that
but he wasn't ruled out. What moment he
was ruled out by Friday, if not Thursday night. Friday midday, he was ruled out.
Okay.
So it wasn't Sunday. He was ruled out on Friday.
Okay. So it wasn't like a Saturday, Sunday kind of early morning thing. Okay. All right.
And just to add a little bit, the person who was blocked doesn't seem to have an issue because they knew they were waiting to Sunday to make their moves, and by not, he's just like, all right, I'll try and do the best I can. And it looks like he's going to win anyway without a starting quarterback. So, I mean, all this stuff is just, it's random anyway, but you're just doing the best you can to maybe hit the margins. And even that doesn't always work.
Right. But we're here to have fun.
I got you.
And we're here to make sure that, we're not going to make everybody happy all the time. That's impossible. There's, we're all adults with opinions and stuff like that. But we do not want to put anything to, not blow anybody off on either side. We want to make sure that we hear, the complaint that we have. And we also want to hear that, hey, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong, or I followed the rule thing, and then see if there's a middle ground, and presenting the options for how the league settings would be, knowing that in the off season, we can come to the commissioner with proposals on what we think changes should be made, or settings that we would like to see implemented, or anything like that. And then as a group of people that have been playing this for over 2 decades together, come up with some sort of agreement, and ultimately present it to the commissioner and have the commissioner say his piece and what he thinks we should do moving forward. And then take it from there.
All right. Yeah. I'd say regardless of what any rules are, if they're stated, which now maybe I didn't make it clear, but they are out there. I'm saying they're out there to be read.
Yeah, we
mentioned them on the show. Any rule, they're as clear as I have made it at this point. Could be clear, like I said. But if the rules stated and not being hidden from anybody, and people just try to do the best they can with their teams within those rules, that's what it is. We can always address rules later, but we can't, you can't be mad that someone's following the rules to the best of their ability to make their team the best they can, even when they fail.
even when they fail. And also for both sides of this, you can't always, there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like what's going on. And there's always going to be somebody that takes full advantage of whatever situation that they're in. And it's just always going to happen. We just want to minimize it because we all like each other and we all want to have fun playing this game.
All right.
So I think it's good. And I think one last thing,
yes,
for all parties involved, if you send out messages to us or leave comments on either the Wingman website, on the Yahoo website, in the chat there, or on the YouTube channel, or direct messages, just so we have however you'd like to send those messages so we can start compiling these things and get a good list for the off season so we can start going over them and reviewing them in the off season. Do that. Send in the messages. Keep them civil as you want to. We obviously know everybody and we're all good.
All right, guys. So, just one more. It's just the rules are how they are now. That we can't not change anything in the middle of the year for sure. No one's broken any rules. Like I said, when there's roster stuff, I call you guys or let you guys know. That's the one thing I'm watching is for roster mistakes based on how the rule is stated. And luckily, you guys have been great this year. There's been a couple times like, does he have too many running backs or does she have too many defenses? And I look, I'm like, no, they got him. With the extra spot, you're able to get a couple more of a position that you wouldn't normally have without using the IR spot. Take advantage of it. It's there for everybody to use. With that being said, guys, thank you very much for our first version of Fantasy Court.
Wait. I did just got a message in.
No, you didn't.
It's from Team B. He says, add the tight end position now.
Oh, now then Nick Waddle away will be the best team in the league.
No, he'll have to drop some positions because there'll be restrictions on how many tight ends you need.
Okay, I gotcha. All right, guys, I want to thank you guys so very much. I know we're a little long tonight, not too bad. I want to wish you guys we're heading into the holiday week here of Thanksgiving. Our schedule might be a little different, but where our plan is to get all the same content out to you, maybe just a day earlier this week, as there's a lot of games on Thursday and Friday. So with that being said, don't forget you can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music. And Bernie, guess what I did yesterday and it worked?
Alexa.
I said, Alexa, play Wingman. There's certain words. There's a lot of Wingman podcasts and a lot of the League podcasts. I think I said Wingman, the League podcast. I think that's what I said, and it worked. It came right up on Apple Podcasts on the Alexa player. So it's out there. You can do it by voice. Just be aware you might get a different podcast if you don't say the right combination of words. But if you want to see our videos or audio and you're not sure which one, go to wingmanentertainment.net/podcast. And if you want to see these beautiful faces, see how worked up I get sometimes on a pre-rant here, you can see that at our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube. Thank you guys seriously for watching, for hearing us out. We're just trying to, be the most transparent we are and have everyone have a good time playing fantasy football. It is a game of strategy, a game of fun. With that being said, guys, may your glasses be full, your mugs stay frosty.
And you know what? The waiver wire is just like my ex, full of broken promises and disappointment.
Oh, that waiver wire, always. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Have a good week.